So welcome to the show, Kyle. It's awesome to have you here.
Hi, it's good to be here. Maybe a bit
Awesome.
nervous, but excited at the same time.
No need to be nervous. Just a nice casual conversation. It's really great that you've been able to take the time out to come and have this conversation as well, because I think a lot of people are going to really be able to resonate with your story and really see how different things can be when they really kind of go all in on themselves. So it's going to be a really cool conversation. So do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit for me?
Well, I'm Kyle McCormick. I've recently turned 26 yesterday. I'm a father of 2 kids, and I love them to bits. That's kind of my main motivation, to kind of keep going and keep getting better, and also just to kind of improve myself at the same time. I work for a pretty cool company called DeWalt. Make some pretty good tools, and they're really good to me as well. So,
Awesome.
in a good place, happy.
Awesome. So listen, like obviously people can tell from the accent you're from sunny Scotland in the UK. So obviously our paths actually crossed in Dubai. So strangely enough, like obviously Kyle and I are now speaking, we're both in the UK, but we actually met in Dubai. So what's kind of life been like for you up until this point? Because obviously the job that you're in is different. You're in a different space, kind of mentally and emotionally from when we first met. So just give people an idea of what's life been like for you as Kyle.
I was a wee bit wild, we could say. Kind of 100 miles an hour going nowhere, but I knew I had kind of like good potential and always had like strong desires for like really nice things and to be the best version of myself. So although I had the good qualities, I had quite a lot of not so good qualities as well. Got myself into a bit of trouble and just wasn't really too sure of myself. Probably had quite a false image, outward appearing image compared to what was kind of going on inside. But had it quite well, probably, I would say.
Just to pull on what you said there, is like there was a different outward image to what was going on the inside. What was that looking like?
Well, just kind of from, I don't know, the area that I kind of grew up in, everybody, you kind of need to seem like quite tough or like stuff like that. I don't know, so probably just kind of played along with that a wee bit too much. And I read an interesting bit in a book recently that kind of resonated with that, and I was kind of thinking about it a lot for this first question you were going to ask me about who are you, stuff like that. So you don't really tend to find out who you are first. You kind of find out who you're not first, and then it's like a kind of process of elimination. So everybody's got their good bits and their bad bits. You just need to kind of chip away at the bad bits and try and turn them into good bits.
So when you say like you was showing off as like kind of being this tough guy because that's what your environment almost kind of told you had to be, you've obviously been on this journey where you've realized at some point, hey, hang on, that's actually not me. Yeah, okay, you might be a tough guy, but there's more to you than that. And the thing is, sometimes we have to, quite like that quote that you just shared, we do have to almost discover who we're not so we can unbecome it to come back to who we really are. So what was people missing? Like, what was you missing when you was going on this process of, okay, well, people want me to be this tough guy. Who was underneath?
I never had any kind of confidence to back that up underneath, if that makes sense. So that's what I was kind of saying about it, although it could have kind of appeared that way. But inside it was a bit different. The confidence kind of wasn't there. And kind of lying to myself a wee bit, but with your mind, you can't really lie to yourself for that long, because you know when you're lying to yourself, really. you try and lie to somebody else, but you can't lie to your own kind of mind. You know when it's not true. So if you've got that kind of feeling, the way you're acting or conducting yourself, it's not really true, then there's kind of work to be done. So
So how did it feel when you didn't feel like you was almost living your truth, as it were, and you was lying to yourself?
Um, it wasn't very good, to be fair. Wasn't very good just on a day-to-day basis. Again, didn't have that kind of confidence or self-belief, although that's what I kind of tried to portray. That wasn't really there, and wasn't really enjoying myself because of that as well.
Okay, you said obviously you wasn't enjoying yourself when you come over to Dubai. You was kind of almost getting to a bit of a tipping point, weren't you? And it was almost coming to the surface, as it were, that you wasn't enjoying your time, not necessarily in Dubai, but just generally speaking in terms of life. Tell me a bit more about that.
I was just in a pretty toxic space at that point, to be fair. I was quite bad with like substance abuse at that point, which definitely didn't help. And me and my partner were in a very good space at that point in time as well. So quite a lot of stuff like that. Probably just feeling a bit lonely, although there's kind of people around you, you maybe can still feel like you're on your own. So that's kind of how I was feeling before I took the trip out to Dubai, and it just did kind of get a bit too much. Everything kind of adding up at the one time, and just felt like I had to kind of do something drastically quite quick, or it wouldn't have been a very good outcome. So I wanted to kind of change that path, break a lot of habits that I kind of had at the time, and just go for a complete restart, and just and kind of reset, take that 2 weeks out, and just try and kind of regroup, get myself together, and then meet you on that path. So I was very grateful for that.
So thank you so much, first of all, for sharing that, because it can be really lonely when we're so like stressed out and we've got all these things going on. You're trying to figure out not only who you are, you're being a dad, you're being a partner to somebody else, you're holding down a job. There were substances involved there as well. That's a lot going on, and for anyone listening, like it can be a lonely journey, and it's so essential that we start to recognize that other people are going through stuff too. And I know that sounds like a bit of a cliche, but the reality is everybody has got their own stuff, they've got their own story, and when we pause and actually take a look at ourselves, then it gives space to be able to then actually be there for other people too.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree. One thing that you kind of taught me, and I think you said that on kind of 2 or 3 separate occasions, but every time you said it, it kind of sticks, that you need to kind of give from a full cup. So that was kind of part of the problem before as well, where I just felt like I was giving so much of myself to everybody else that I never had that time or attention to actually give to myself, and I just felt like I was kind of running myself into the ground in that respect. So I wasn't really in any position to help or be in a good place for somebody else if I wasn't kind of in that place for myself.
And it's exhausting when we're not, isn't it? Like everybody knows that feeling of kind of running on empty, and there's only so far you can go. And when you got to Dubai where we met, you was at that point, right? You'd already had that kind of moment of, do you know what, I need to get out of here, I need that space, I need to regroup. And again, for anyone listening, like that's kind of how stress works, isn't it? We have this kind of fight or flight. You can stay in this fight mode for as long as you possibly can, fighting with this idea of who you are or who other people think you are, or fighting in a relationship or fighting with something else. It's going to be different for everybody. But then a lot of the time we also have obviously the freeze component where people just stay stuck where they are. And obviously in your situation, like very outwardly, you flew, right? You literally flew to Dubai. You literally got that space, and you was like, do you know what, this is what I just feel like I need to do, which is a natural instinct. And that was actually a very pivotal moment for you, because you had that shift of something's got to change, I've got to break this pattern. And so you ended up in Dubai.
Yeah. And before that, just for anybody kind of listening, which it could sound kind of quite heavy as well, but definitely be somebody out there that it can resonate with. That before that, I did feel kind of casually suicidal, if that makes sense. Not in a malice way that I thought about it all the time and wanted to do it and take action, but as I said, it was kind of casual. It was like, well, what if I wasn't here, or what if I did do that? Or it definitely crossed my mind quite often. So I knew that was not a kind of regular thought process that I could continue to keep going forward. It's not going to lead to a very good place. So that's another kind of reason why that kind of wee meltdown happened as well, and obviously I had to get help too. So,
and again, thank you.
Everybody else kind of has that kind of feeling where it's not like an overwhelming desire to do that. It's just kind of crossed your mind a few times. Then you can definitely, there's a way back for that.
And again, thank you for sharing that, because suicidal ideation is a real thing, and it's more common than what I think people think, if that makes sense. And it's something that it needs to be talked about more openly. It's something I experienced in the past as well. And it's something that can be actually quite scary, because, you know, very often we associate with our own thoughts as if they are ours. And it means something about us if we're thinking that. And I mean, just let me ask you this, like when you was having those casual thoughts, how did they make you feel?
You do kind of feel like you just want to give up at that point. Especially if it's a kind of reoccurring thought. You can be quite confused, and obviously it brings you right down. You kind of feel terrible. It's not a very nice feeling, especially if it's reoccurring. You can kind of start to believe yourself, because what you kind of tell yourself on a regular basis, you'll believe it, whether that's a positive thing or a negative thing. If you keep kind of practicing thinking about a certain thing, then you'll get good at thinking about that, whether that's a good situation that you're thinking about or a bad situation that you're thinking about.
Yeah, definitely.
So
And
definitely something to stop before it gets started, if possible.
absolutely. And that's the beauty of the things that we're going to be talking about today, and what obviously we do at Wellness Theory, is that you can be proactive and you can almost avoid getting to that point if you're aware of some key things when it comes to quality of thinking, when it comes to emotional awareness, when it comes to just knowing yourself and who you are. It's very easy then to have a sense of awareness as to where you're at on that scale, so you don't get to a tipping point. So for you, Kyle, obviously, like I said, we met when you were kind of at that tipping point, but what was it that made you think now's the time, I just need help? What was it that kind of triggered that for you?
I'm not really too sure the exact moment, but I had kind of broke down at work the day. So I had that breakdown at my work on the Friday, and then flew out to Dubai literally on Saturday. So like less than 24 hours later. So it was a very drastic and sudden kind of decision to make. So I think it was just that I was at my work on a building site, full of guys, and I was crying behind my sunglasses because it was kind of sunny, and I just thought to myself, "Nah, what am I doing here?" And just that day made the kind of hard decision that can't go on like that. Need to kind of change the path and break all the kind of habits that got me there in the first place.
Nice. And again, that's so raw and so real what you've just shared, because I wonder how many other people are listening to this and they've been in situations where they're surrounded by people, maybe their loved ones, maybe their work colleagues, it doesn't matter, but inside they're really suffering as well. And it, for you and for a lot of people, it's just one decision that changes the course of your future happens in those moments, and you can choose those moments whenever we want to, can't we?
Yeah.
So what happened from there? So you get on the plane, you go to Dubai because you've got a family in Dubai. So that was obviously what took you there.
Yeah.
And then we were obviously introduced. So what did you kind of expect when you started coming into this idea of coaching? Did you know much about it? Like, how did it happen?
When I actually took the trip out to Dubai, coaching hadn't even kind of crossed my mind, to be fair. I think I had only been, my reason for going to Dubai in the first place because that's where my parents lived, so I just wanted that time away for that kind of reset, and what better place to kind of do it if you've got the option. But then it was a kind of family friend that introduced myself to you, and just said, look, I've knew Charlotte, and I think she'll be a really good kind of asset for you to work with, so why don't you kind of give it a shot. Filled in some paperwork at the start, which was wasn't really what I was expecting. Like the questions was hard questions to kind of ask yourself if you've not been on that kind of conversation with yourself before. A lot of what is it that you want, how much are you willing to kind of go for it, and really like detail your answers, stuff like that. So once I kind of filled in the questionnaires, kind of knew it was the real deal. And that when I was filling in that paperwork, that I was kind of committing to like the journey, just that I was about to kind of embark on. But it was one definitely the best decision that I've ever went for.
Listen, it's always good to hear that. I mean, it's because especially now knowing what I know about the journey you've been on, it's even more exciting, and we'll get to that shortly. It's interesting what you said about the questionnaire, because whenever somebody comes to coach with us, that they have to really show that they want it, but they've got to really look at themselves and specify what is it they actually want to achieve. And you know, we all have a conversation with anybody just to help them get on the right track. Like, it doesn't have to be you sign up for coaching. It's just a case of, listen, let's jump on a call, let's talk, let's meet in person, should the environment be conducive to do so, and we'll meet and we'll have a conversation, and just immediately, just through language and through thinking in different directions, it can really provide a lot of clarity for someone. And the fact that after just filling up the first questionnaire, you was able to already see, okay, this is going to be an interesting journey to embark on, and you're already asking some hard questions. It obviously led you somewhere that took you to a very different place to what you was experiencing at that time. So tell us this, like, what did you want to achieve? So at that point, you've realized, okay, coaching's a thing. You do this questionnaire and you're like, okay, maybe this is good for me. Like, what did you want to achieve at that point?
I think I said that at the start of the podcast, but the term 100 miles an hour going nowhere actually came from one of my old supervisors, because that's how he described me at work, because I was always like kind of at work doing loads of stuff but never getting anything done, and that was kind of the summary for my full life at that point. I knew kind of what I wanted, I just didn't really know how to get there or what steps to take, so it was a bit kind of sporadic. So I just needed that point in the right direction and kind of guide along the way, because obviously it's great kind of going on your own journey and making your own mistakes and learning from your own mistakes as you go, which you'll inevitably need to do anyway. But if you have got that kind of helping hand or cheat codes to kind of get there quicker, then why not? Because if you're learning from your own mistakes, then you're going to get there. But if you're learning from your own mistakes and somebody else's, and you're doing kind of effective analysis of what you're kind of doing at the same time, then that will just be a kind of catalyst to get me where I want to be, basically. Bit of direction, bit of focus.
Nice. So it's like, I think a lot of people can relate to that, definitely, because it's the trend, like it's the thing to do. And when I say trend, I don't mean like the novelty thing that's happening at the moment. I mean it's the natural path of things to want to try on our own. That the traditional journey into self-development is either we get to a tipping point and we have a meltdown and we just suddenly are in so much pain we need help. The other path is we kind of get curious about personal development after we've been at that pain point, and then we start to follow the breadcrumbs and read a few books, listen to some podcasts, and we kind of go on that journey trying to do it for ourselves. But there does come a point where everybody needs that support. We're not designed to do things alone as human beings. We need to be confident and comfortable with ourselves alone, but we don't have to always do everything on our own. And that's a real nice thing that you've mentioned there, because again, we don't have to do it on our own as well. It's like, it's an option to have an accountability group, to have a coach, to have a friend that you can open up to. There's always options out there. So when we started coaching, we actually did an intensive 2 or 3 days, I believe it was, coaching kind of kickoff, where we worked through some pretty deep stuff. So for anyone listening, a lot of the coaching that we do is around obviously mental well-being. We have the physical side of well-being, but we also have the emotional well-being as well. So we did a deep dive into the mental and emotional space. So what was that process like for you?
I had kind of touched on stuff like this before. So I knew roughly what to expect, but definitely not to the kind of magnitude that we went into. I'd done kind of hypnosis before, and I'd spoke to a couple of kind of counsellors and stuff before, so I think that's kind of what I was expecting, and then it was like totally different. Because I was only in Dubai for, I did actually extend the stay while I was there, but it was meant to just be, I think, a week or 2 weeks. We had to get the kind of first few sessions in really quick, so whether we do like 3 full days, it was very interesting and humbling as well, because sometimes you can kind of think you know it all, and then it takes you looking at a couple of slides on a slideshow to realise that you really don't. So it was quite a humbling experience as well. That was another good part about it.
So you mentioned there that it was different to any kind of counselling or hypnosis that you tried in the past. Like how was it different?
Because we went into kind of like how the mind works, how the brain works, kind of step by step. So you can see the recipe basically for what happens inside. Like you observe like a scene or a situation, and then, for example, you then attach whatever meaning that you have to that situation, and then you act on that. So it's a kind of like chain of events that happen like in the mind that I had not really been aware of before, stuff like that. When we done the emotional release session, that was by far and still to this day the freakiest thing I've ever done.
in a good way.
In a good way.
What did you experience? Because emotional release is different for everyone, and what you're talking about here, just for anyone that's listening, to give you a bit of context, is something called timeline paradigm techniques. And this is basically where we use what you've just described, the science of the mind, and we also connect that with the emotional side of yourself, and we use almost like an interactive meditation to allow certain emotions to be released. Because whenever we are feeling full up to the brim and we're so stressed out to the max, or we're feeling highly emotional, is because our cup is too full of all of these emotions. And if we don't discharge it and empty it, we just keep on adding and adding and adding, and we end up overflowing, and that overflows into our life, into our behaviors, our habits, our attitudes. And essentially what you're talking about here is when you did that session where we was emptying your emotional cup, if you like, and it was a very physical experience for you, and you're very kinesthetic. So some people, when they're doing emotional release and timeline, it's very much all in the mind and in the visualization. Sometimes people feel and associate with what it is they're experiencing, and that was kind of what it was like for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
when we do timeline paradigm techniques, it's very much about taking core learnings from our subconscious and learning how they can serve us now and in the future. And that's essentially what it's all about, is that we can learn from this emotional charge that we've been carrying for so long, so that we can then release that, let it go, and then open literally our hearts to be able to have more of the good stuff that we want, instead of reacting in today's present moment based on all of our past history. We actually just start living in the moment and presently. So do you remember how you felt after the emotional release and how your emotional state started to change?
It was very much kind of like a reset, to be fair, at that point. So felt quite neutral after that, if that makes sense.
It does, because before you obviously wasn't feeling neutral. You said earlier you had a lot of anger.
Yeah, a lot of kind of anger and just kind of negative or unpleasant emotions instead of negative. Unpleasant feeling emotions, and that was kind of wiped clean for a wee kind of fresh start.
Nice. Okay, so obviously, like, fast forwarding from like those first few kind of intensive sessions and intensive days of coaching, we obviously continued coaching when you was back in the UK, and we've been working for a while in terms of accountability and just continuous growth, because coaching isn't just about having a coach when there's a problem. It's about actually using coaching to boost our performance, so that, like you said at the very beginning, you can continue to grow into an even better version of yourself. And that's something that everybody can do if they should choose. So what's the journey look like kind of now for you compared to then?
Well, when I first came back, obviously we done an intensive period right at the start, and then when I first came back, I think for the first few weeks I was taking it just as seriously as I was when I was there in person.
Yeah.
And then after that, I kind of realized that I was just kind of in the same environment as I was before I went away, which was kind of taking my accountability down at that point. So I struggled a wee bit at the start to kind of have that commitment, because I was kind of back in, not I was going to say back in the fire, not that it was a fire, but back around the kind of environment I was in before. So to then kind of stay in that environment and then try and improve, that was a kind of difficult wee phase, because like in your mind you've got like a wee voice that will speak to you, and it will just try and talk you out of good things. It tries to talk you out of good things. I hope people that are listening can understand that. And
I'm sure they can.
nutty, but try and talk you out of good things, like, come on, what are you doing? You don't really need to try this. But then I did kind of make that commitment to commit to the journey. And since that point, it's just been a kind of steady kind of run of improvement. But there's also been like those kind of down phases as well, as there would be on kind of any journey. Like, you've got your kind of goal that you're looking for, which is your best version of yourself that you can possibly get, top guy, and you're down here to start with. A lot of people think the journey is just like that, but it's not. So you're going up a wee bit, and then you'll drop down. And you'll come up, you'll drop down, but just a wee bit less than the last time. Then you'll go up further, then you'll have another wee drop, but not as bad as the time before that. So you've got your ups and downs, but with the coaching, it just makes the ups more enjoyable, and prolonged, and the downs kind of less frequent and easier to handle when they do come along.
I love what you've shared there. There's two key things. The first one being the environment, because that's so true for everyone. I mean, your story was obviously you was in a different country. You was literally able to have that kind of almost clean break from what was going on at home to be able to go back into your old environment. You was able to have that distance. Now, a lot of people try and do this when they go to like events, big events with motivational speakers, and they feel amazing when they're there. And then when they go home, they're back in their normal environment, and it's like, oh, the buzz is gone. The buzz isn't there anymore. And it can be tough. And not everybody has an environment that's conducive for their growth. That's just a reality. And that can mean in a workplace, that can mean in a family dynamic, it can mean with other people's opinions, it can be partners, it can be all sorts of different things. It depends on obviously everybody's individual situation. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of commitment to be able to actually stay true to yourself in those environments, because it's very easy for somebody to just pick up, change their life, go live somewhere else, almost cut ties with everybody that caused all the stress and the trouble in the first place, or the situations that caused the stress and the troubles. But that's not real life, right? Like, we can't all go and move and live and be Buddhas in the middle of the mountains. You know, it doesn't work like that. Life still happens. And
even if you could do that, then the new problems would come, and you would realize it wasn't all they guys. Me.
Exactly, because we are always the common factor in our own journey, in our own story, no matter where we are. And what I think has been great with you, Kyle, is you've been able to, the second thing I was going to say there is that what you've quite rightly pointed out is it is a journey, and we're human, and we're going to have ups, we're going to have downs. The downs don't have to be rock bottom, and the ups can be higher than you ever thought possible. It's just about that consistent growth with it. And you've done so much since you come back from Dubai. You've got different qualifications. Now you're doing trading. Like, there's so many different changes that have occurred for you. Do you want to share anything?
Huge changes. That's definitely one thing that I would say I've kind of learned or been more open-minded to since we started coaching was try anything that you want. Anything you want to try, go for it. Because if there's not anything actually stopping you from doing it, then crack on and try it. If you try it and you like it, then great, you've tried something new and you liked it, and you can continue doing that. Or if you try something and you thought it was going to be great, and it turns out it was a bit of a letdown, or it's not what you thought it was going to be, then at least you know you tried it, you kind of found out, and you've never lost anything for trying it. You've only gained kind of that experience. But I started loads and loads of new stuff. For example, running. Before, I kind of had an excuse in my head that I'll never be able to run because I had shin splints when I was at high school. Probably never. Probably just had sore shins. And I was like, oh, I'll just never really be able to do that. And I thought, well, I might as well try it. And this is how easy it is to start running. Even if you don't think you can do it, you can start running by just going 1 kilometer. So you can just literally go on Google, type in 1 km radius from my house. It'll show you where the point is. Run to the point, run back. You've done it. You've done 2k, or the 500 meters for your front door and back. That's how easy it is to start running. So I started just by doing that. In August, now we're in March. See what I've done since then. 435 kilometers. And
you didn't think you could do one?
And I didn't think I could run. Thought I couldn't run. Thought I'd never be able to run. So ran 435 kilometers since August last year, and again that just started with Right, well, where is that 1 kilometre away from my house? Right, it's that bus stop just up that hill. I'll run to that bus stop, run back. Just started doing that 4 times in the first week, and then just kind of thought, well, I'll go for there's 2 kilometres away. Just kept adding that up, and that was that was how the running got started. Now I've got the running bug, love that. Trading as well, that's one thing that I literally heard of trading for the very, very first time when I was in Dubai that time, when we met. I hadn't even heard of a kind of financial markets chart or seen one before then. You hear like FTSE and Dow Jones and stuff like that maybe on the news. Nobody really knows what it is. So I looked into that, found out that you can make like unlimited money, literally unlimited money, once you get good at it. Again, it's that journey. And just kind of threw myself into that head first. And trading is probably the biggest test of a kind of human character that you could possibly put yourself through.
It is when you're on a big personal development journey, because you pretty much started that at the same kind of time as you was working on like mindset and emotions, and it's actually such an emotional thing to then go and do that.
Yeah.
You really kind of put yourself in it, like right in at the deep end. But it's been great for you doing that alongside coaching, because it teaches you lessons, it teaches you different things, and it's pulling you to be more resilient, to be more patient, and all of these things that before you was very impulsive about and emotional about, and now actually it's grounding you and actually keeping you resourceful at the best of time.
Yeah, you get to know yourself once you kind of start trading, kind of what your tendencies are, where your mind goes, if you panic or not, and self-confidence as well. Confidence and trust in a process. Like coaching's a process as well. So you kind of need to put in the work, and then it'll take a bit of time, and then you'll get a bit better.
Exactly. And it's about learning and awareness, isn't it? And every time we learn a bit more, we become a bit more aware, we start to add up in the same way your kilometers of running have added up in that period of time. You just heard from 1 to 4,000 plus. Like that only happens because you learn every time you go out, you're aware every time you go out, you stretch when you need to stretch, you do what you need to do. Same with trading. And it's great. I mean, there are only 2 of the things you've done. You've gone and you've done some other courses, like your KCR course that you've done. You've put yourself out there in terms of doing some kickboxing as well. Kickboxing or Muay Thai?
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai. Same, but different. Like that's the thing. Like there's so many different ways that you've now expanded and grown that I don't even know were possibilities or even in your mind before. And that's what happens when you start to focus on what it is you do want, and you get clarity and direction in where it is you're going and who you want to continue to strive into as well, in terms of who you want to be. Like, I mean, I've seen you go through some incredible shifts and incredible changes since we first met, but I haven't asked you this, and you're not expecting the question, but if there was like one thing that you've learned, like the biggest lesson in coaching, like what would it be?
The biggest lesson would probably be the importance of being honest with yourself. Also, learn the lesson as soon as you can when it kind of presents itself. So, like when you get a problem, learn the lesson for the problem straight away or as fast as you can, and then like have a plan for going forward. So if that happens again, then you've already learned your lesson. You don't need to learn the lesson twice, 3 times, 4 times. You can learn the lesson, you can make your adjustment, and then you're kind of better for going forward, and you can apply that to any kind of category in life, really.
Nice. I like that a lot. And again, people can learn from that already, just from listening to this and from listening to you speaking as well. So let me ask you this, because at the beginning you kind of described like that you was angry, you was almost pretending a bit in terms of who you were as a character. You wasn't really too sure of yourself. And now, like, how would you describe yourself now? What does life look like now for you?
Definitely much happier, much more free. I have got that kind of self-confidence that I never had before. And that was up until fairly recently as well. Even after I'd started running. So maybe I would be out a run at night and it's dark. This is one particular time that actually had like an actual event that kind of happened. It wasn't even an event. Nothing happened at all.
It just happened in your mind, right?
Happened in my mind.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. So I was at a run. It was at night, and there was a group of like 5 guys, probably about my age, maybe younger, probably younger, that I could see from a kind of distance. And I'm jogging up to them, and I'm thinking, oh no, like instantly, your mind will show you worst case scenario for everything. So if you're about to make a decision, or you're thinking about a kind of choice that you've got, your mind's always going to throw you up worst case scenario first time, which almost never ever happens. So I was jogging up, saw these 5 guys, and I could feel that nervous feeling inside, like, oh no, like what's going to happen here? Like it was fear of basically, if something happens here and I'm not going to be able to handle myself. Nobody really wants to kind of feel like that. So I had that was the problem. And then the solution was, well, go and learn. Stop. Don't be out running about being scared of something that's not going to happen for a start. But then the solution to that is, well, go and actually learn. You like watching like loads of UFC and loads of kind of martial arts and combat sports. Go and learn it. Always been interested in it. And then when I'm out running about, I've not got that fear anything's going to happen. Because when was the last time that happened to anybody? Almost never. But when you have got that kind of self-confidence, if you've went and put in a bit of time and effort and done the work to kind of learn, in this particular example, how to defend yourself, then you've kind of solved that problem, and then you can go out running without worrying that folk are going to jump you, when that's never going to happen anyway.
And it's not all down to just go and learn how to defend yourself, right? It's down to you running away with your own mind of what could happen. Whereas actually, okay, yeah, for sure, be safe, like cross the road. Like you don't want to like cause anything and trigger these situations.
Yeah. When I got up to they were like 15, 14, 13 or something, like wee, tiny, skinny guys, but like when you're the distance and the running up, that's that time where again you'll kind of get to know yourself. You'll figure something out about yourself, how you feel, how you react in that situation. When I got up to them, it was like, we guys just ran straight past them, never even looked at me. It was fine. But that kind of feeling of the panic and the uneasiness, but insecurity, if you have that kind of feeling about anything, then there's always an action that you can take to overcome that that fear or that insecurity. You can put in a bit of work, and then it goes.
Absolutely, definitely. And that's great that you've shared that, because a lot of people have anxiety over things that are not going to happen, right? And that's the thing about anxiety. It's usually a fear of something that's going to happen in the future or that could happen. Not always, it's obviously different case by case, but that's usually the reality, is we're having a reaction before there's a need to have a reaction, which immediately turns off the intelligent part of our brain, like literally chemically. And then we sort of almost start to act in a primal way. But when you can start to control how you're feeling, and you can start to be aware of that quality of thinking and the story that you're telling yourself about the situation, and sometimes, yeah, you might want to reinforce that story and that confidence with some skills. For example, slightly different example to yours, but like one of the biggest fears worldwide is public speaking. Right. So a lot of people, they start to feel anxious already before they even open their mouth, whereas actually nothing's happened yet. But if you can start to control the quality of thinking, couple that with practice, with skills, with a quality aligned belief system, then that confidence is unshakable. Then you can show up in any situation. And it's the same in your scenario. For you, it wasn't learning the skills of public speaking, it was learning the skills to be able to defend yourself, to boost that confidence even more. But the point here is like, yeah, it's sometimes it's skill relevant, and sometimes it's thought process relevant and how you're feeling. What do you think on that?
Definitely both.
Yeah.
Definitely both. Again, with trading, for example, can look at that as well. If there's a kind of problem that keeps coming up, like the same kind of problem over again, like keep maybe losing for the same reason. Be honest with yourself, like we said, look at that reason and do something about it. Whether that is, as you say, like a mental kind of thing, like, oh, I should just, you start panicking, close the trade, when really there's not any reason to do that. You can kind of go into your toolbox and recognise, oh right, I'm feeling that same feeling that I did the last time I'd done that, and there was no any reason, so I'll just leave it. Or if it's a kind of skill issue, then again you can go and study that particular kind of area and make an improvement. So it doesn't really matter what the kind of area is in your life. If there's a bit that's not up to scratch, then there's always kind of ways to work on that, whether it's your mental toolbox or just getting to work and actually teaching yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Agreed, 100%. So if anyone was thinking about coaching and they're kind of on the fence and they're listening to you and they're like, yeah, man, I can really resonate with how you were feeling before you went to Dubai. I can resonate with these ups and downs that happen because we're human. And they was like thinking about coaching. What would you say to them?
Go for it. Like I kind of said earlier on in the session, if you try something and it's good, then you've tried a good thing, and you can continue kind of on that path. Or if you try it and you realise you don't like it, or it's not what you thought it was going to be, then you can stop. But you definitely wouldn't be stopping once you started. But take the kind of leap of faith, if you will, and just try. There's nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Exactly. And like that's the beauty of what you've said there, is like you just try something and you'll know if it works for you or not, because coaching isn't for everyone. Like, and we say this to everybody we speak to about coaching. Listen, coaching might not be for you, and it's up to you to figure out what is what is for you. It's about you knowing what your options are and knowing what's available to you. You know, it's about knowing that if you're feeling like you're lacking in confidence, and then you can be confident if you're willing to go through a little bit of exploration in a setting that you feel comfortable in, then it's totally worth it.
Yeah. And it's going to give you the tools to kind of overcome any situation. So although the coaching itself is not going to resolve your next big problem, it'll give you the kind of tools to resolve it. And those tools again will kind of stay with you going forward. So once you've learned something, you know it. So and it's pretty simple, but you don't know what you don't know. There's a lot of people out there that don't know like the wee tools, the wee tricks and techniques to like maintain themselves in certain situations, or just in general. So once you kind of get on board and learn the techniques, then you're golden. Then you know,
Definitely. So listen, Kyle, it's been awesome to have you on here, and I really would love you to share kind of like what's next for you, because this journey is always ever present, isn't it? We're always growing, we're always learning, every human being is. So what's next for you?
More of the same, to be fair. Just keep kind of working harder. I'm going to really kind of, although I said it's good to try new stuff, I've kind of tried new things to the point that I've got a few plates spinning, as you said. So I'm just going to kind of focus on my Muay Thai, running, trading, and again the kind of personal development, and just try and become the best version of me that I can for myself and for my family as well. Another thing, just on the last kind of question that we had, the coaching is not just for the person taking the coaching. It kind of helps everybody around you as well. Like, for example, the other night, my wee boy, he's only 3. He was in his bed. We've been putting him into his own bed. He's been kind of coming into mine and my partner's bed for long enough. So we've put the foot down, put him into his own bed. But he was crying the other night, and I went in to kind of see why he was crying, and he was taking nice big deep breaths and keeping himself calm. And he said that to me in the morning. He said, when I was crying last night and I was taking my deep breaths. So that made me really proud as well. So it's not even just yourself that can help. It can help everybody around you as well. As soon as you can kind of pass on the tools that you learn, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly, it's that ripple effect, and I love it when you share stories like that with you and your little ones, because like it's so great that you're so conscious and you're so aware that you're able to pay it forwards, because you interrupt patterns of behaviors when you do that. And he's 3 years old, and he's dealing with his emotions better than most adults. Like that's insane when you think about it. But that's a testament to you, Kyle. It's a testament to everything that you've put in, the time, the effort, the energy, sticking with it when it feels hard, and for going even further when it's feeling easy. And that's what keeps you going, and that's what keeps you growing in all the directions that you want to. And I'm not just saying it because we're recording, but you're a pleasure to coach, and it's been really, really cool for me to be able to see your journey until now. And I'm really excited to see what comes next for you as well. And because I know that when you like double down and you really focus on the things that you really want to focus on, your results are exponential. And I think we're going to really see that play out more and more as we continue to move forwards.
Yeah. And I'd actually taken like a couple of weeks off for trading these last 2 weeks. Again, because I can kind of get to know myself better now, and can recognise when I do need that break, if I'm kind of doing my own head in with it. Can realise that, take a step back, realise that it's fine to take a break for something. It's going to be there when you go back. You'll benefit for the break.
Yeah, definitely. And that's if that's the only thing you ever learn from coaching, is how to take a step back and recognize when you need that time for yourself, then that's already gold, because that's something that will save a lot of people a lot of stress. So if there's anyone listening to this that wants like one tip to walk away from, now Kyle's already shared lots of things, but one thing that you can do is just pause, just take a breath, step back, get some perspective, recharge yourself so that you can come back even stronger, and you'll learn lessons in the process about yourself as well. And it's so powerful. How are you feeling now? Because you're coming to the end of that 2 weeks. So you're ready to run? You're feeling charged or ready to go again?
Yeah, definitely. Tried not to kind of think about it in the 2 weeks. In the last few days, I've already kind of started putting together a wee kind of development plan for starting back again on Monday, so that I've got a kind of plan to follow, and I'll not just be kind of winging it.
Like,
is always good.
Exactly, a bit of structure, absolutely. Listen, is there anything else you'd like to share? The floor is yours, open mic. Is there anything that you want to share with anybody listening?
So there would be one other thing that I could say for a kind of key takeaway, which is like a big lesson for everybody. Stop waiting to enjoy yourself, or stop waiting to be happy. Stop waiting to feel anything that you want to feel, because most of the time when you get to that point, it'll not be as good as what you thought it was going to be, until you've spent all that time in the lead up to your finish line, being in a kind of unhappy space. So just enjoy yourself throughout the full journey. For example, if you're looking to lose like 3 stone, then that's going to involve a lot of suffering to get to a lot of hard work to get to the kind of goal that you're looking for. But you need to kind of remember that's what you wanted. You wanted to lose that 3 stone, so that's what you need to do, the work to get there. So you might as well enjoy that work, and not just be like, oh well, I'll be happy once I've lost 3 stone. Just kind of enjoy that process of losing that weight, for example. Because if you take, I don't know how long it takes to lose 3 stone, but I'd rather be happy during that time and kind of proud of myself than kind of feeling like you need to do it, feeling unhappy about it, demotivated. So yeah, stop waiting to enjoy yourself, stop waiting to start things, stop waiting to be happy, and just be happy now. That's about it.
If there was one thing that you wish that everybody could know about themselves, what would it be?
It's not how you start the race, it's how you finish, and you still got time. So it doesn't really matter what it is that you've done up until now. You could have made a million mistakes, but that doesn't kind of define who you are going forward. So it's not how you start the race. You can make all the mistakes you want at the start. It's how you finish. It's never too late to kind of make those changes and be better.
Nice. I love it. Brilliant. And I think everybody that has been listening to today's episode will really, really be able to resonate with you, with what you've experienced, with all of the tools and tips that you've shared as well from your own experience as well. I think it's really, really valuable. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure.
Awesome.